Hi, this is Julie Hart, and you're listening to Inside the Ropes every Thursday night. Tune in.
And we're back on Inside the Ropes, and we've been saying for weeks now that we're going to do two sides of the tale. It's going to be Julie Hart on one side, Errol Hitman on the other. We're going to talk about Montreal and give the untold stories. So first up, we have the former wife of Bret the Hitman Hart, and the woman who is iconically now forever engraved in cinema as talking down Triple H, that hundreds of people would love to do, and she got the chance to do it. So we have Julie Hart on the line. Julie, welcome to Inside the Ropes.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So the first thing I wanted to kind of ask you was, let's go back to 1997, and Bret had a year off from Vince. He took a year off, and then he came back, and he signed a 20-year deal. Now, when that happened, and Bret signed a 20-year deal, was there any suspicion on you or Bret's part that Vince would want to get out of it at all, or that the tension with Shawn was going to get as bad as it did?
Well, I think there were concerns. Nothing like what happened further on, but, you know, and just like I think with anyone, when you sign and you're going into a new company or whatever, there were concerns with that, and then you kind of wonder, like, geez, am I doing the right thing, and what was going to happen, because Bret felt very loyal to Vince. He'd been with him from the very beginning, and, you know, so it was, like, really emotional for him, too. So, but I don't think we really started to worry about anything until Bret, I don't think he was that concerned with anything happening in that match until we got there to Montreal, you know, and then just little things started to happen, you know, like someone had told Bret that they saw Shawn in the same hotel as Vince and going in the elevator and stuff like that, and then that started to make Bret, you know, a little worried.
And then obviously going into Montreal, this was going to be. Were you always set on going to the event with Bret?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, the kids and and we brought my sister Michelle with us and her boyfriend, and, you know, because it was going to be a big thing. It was saying goodbye we wanted to say goodbye to people that my kids had grown up with and stuff, and, you know, I knew that we would never see them again. So I think, and, you know, Montreal being the lovely province that it is, we got to do that. So
who do you remember when you got there, when you got to the building? Like, talk us through. So you get to the building. Where did you go? I mean, who did you see first? Who do you remember sort of?
Rena, Mark Merrill's wife. I remember talking to her, and because we had just done a cruise with Mark and Rena too, so it was kind of nice. I think I saw a couple of the guys. I can't remember now. Like
you mentioned earlier on that someone had saw Shawn going into an elevator, maybe to Vince's hotel room or whatever. When did that was that on the day of the event that Bret found that out, and was that the beginning of him kind of thinking, right, something might be up here?
Yeah, that was earlier in the day. The kids and I had gone shopping, and then when we came back to the hotel, Bret said he had to go talk to our lawyer, who was in town with us as well. And then the source, I can't tell you who the source is, but anyway, the source was in the room and then had said what happened, and then he was like, uh-oh. So he went over to our lawyer's room to talk to him about it. And then I think that's when Bret really started to get nervous, because it was, you know, like something, well, I mean, you know, you even then, like, you couldn't really take anything from that. Okay, well, Shawn's in the elevator, but he happens to be in the same elevator, the hotel that Vince is staying in. So nervousness started from that.
And then obviously there's the bit on the DVD that Bret had said that he'd had a conversation with Errol about the match. He had just said that he'd spoke to Errol about it, and Errol had said that he swore in his kid's life that he would never do anything.
Oh yes, but I didn't know about that until the end of the night, when we all went to the restaurant after everything happened, and we were all sitting in the restaurant, like Bret's manager, our lawyer, my sister, and all the kids, and then he had mentioned something about it then, and he was quite upset, you know. I mean, I think these things just played out on their own. It's too bad that it all happened the way it did, because there were so many other people involved and that were hurt in it as well. That's just the nature of the business, man.
And when it all happened, you were in the crowd at the time. When Errol Hebner rang the bell and he ran out the ring and you kind of understood what had happened, what was your initial sort of thought process when that happened?
Well, I was sitting with my lawyer, our lawyer, right? I remember we were just having a conversation. I don't even know what that was about. We were just talking and stuff, and all of a sudden I could hear the ding, 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 like it was like a rapid ding. And I'm like, holy shit, that's not supposed to happen. And I looked at my lawyer and I go, that's not supposed to happen. And he goes, no. And then we both stood up and we jumped over, because it was a hockey thing. We jumped over the boards and ran to the back, right? And there was like chaos, once we got back there. And then when Bret came through, I kind of stopped him, but he was in like such a zone that he didn't even hear me. I just said, is everything okay? And he just kept on walking, went into the dressing room, slammed the door, and then everybody else started going in. And I'm like, so we were just standing in the hallway, like right by the dressing room door. My sister and I, our kids were with Bret's assistant. So we were just kind of standing there, and all of a sudden it was like this loud, you couldn't really make out what they were saying. I couldn't hear them, but it was very loud. And then that's when the boys came out, Hunter and I think it was Joe. They were leaning against the wall, and just my instinct told me that Hunter was in on it, just from the way he looked, because he wouldn't look me in the eye. That's when I decided to ask him if he knew about it.
And obviously, like I said in the intro, that's become this sort of iconic scene in the documentary, as you sort of telling him off kind of thing for what happened. And were you quite positive then that he knew about it?
Oh, absolutely, because him and Sean were best friends, like best friends. You never saw Sean without him and him without Sean,
And obviously later on, like, I don't know when you would have found this out, but when it all came out that eventually they all knew about it, and it became public knowledge that it was Hunter's idea, that he had come up with the idea of it happening.
Oh, see, I don't even know that. I didn't even know that. Is that when did that happen? Yeah, because Bret and I separated like a year later. So when did that happen?
Well, Sean admitted in 2002 that he knew about it.
Well, I knew about that.
It was a couple of years later that it came out that Hunter had sort of been in the room and said, I think it was Sean had said that him and Vince were in a room, and Hunter had said, "Look, why don't we do this?" Wow,
I did not know that. I'm being honest. I did not know that. See, like, I don't really keep up with wrestling, and after Bret and I separated, like, I just didn't have an interest in it anymore. So that's funny. No one ever told me that, and look where he is today, right? Lucky fella. Well, he's sure made his way to the top. You come up with great ideas like that. Move up the corporate ladder. Wow. Well, good for him. I'm glad for him. All of them. Look where they all are today.
After, you said you guys went to the restaurant after the show. So, I guess this is a bit of a redundant question, but obviously Bret would have been really upset at what happened.
You know what? It was really, really quiet in the restaurant that night. I remember when we were almost killed on the way to the restaurant. We were in a cab, and our cab driver was going down this little hill underneath a bridge, and then when we came up, there was a car coming like head on, and just at the last second, like, our cab driver got out of the way. But we were all kind of like, we were so in shock from what just happened at the forum that we were like, who cares? And then even when we got to the restaurant, we didn't really bring it up. It was just like, oh yeah, we almost got killed. But we were all, everybody was in extreme shock.
And then obviously Bret went to WCW, and some people say that, he got so much money, so why was he so upset? What do you think of that sort of opinion? That, Bret,
Well, okay, well, you know what the way I liken it to, it's like your dad just gave you the boot and your mom married a stepfather. and you don't like the new stepfather. But that's what I mean about Bret. Like he wasn't about the money. Bret was about being in a company that he liked, and he liked everybody. And so going to WCW, where, I mean, he knew half those guys anyway, but I think he just didn't want to go. He just wanted to stay where he felt like a part of the company.
How did you feel about, and I know you, obviously you're not in the wrestling business, so it might be difficult to, but just your opinion, how did you feel about them making a storyline out of Vince screwing Bret, and then Vince becoming the Mr. McMahon character and all that? How did you feel about that?
Oh, I thought that was horrible. But that's what Vince does, right? That's how he markets things. I felt sorry for Bret. He was a good person to Vince. So it was kind of, geez, why did you have to go and do that? But you look at everything now, like how everything is. Yeah, like you can see how everything has played out over the years, like, and where it is today. And it was all about the business. It's still all about the business. Those things, I guess, shouldn't have been taken so personal by the things that do happen to the boys, because it's all business.
Do you think Bret took Montreal too personally?
Yes. Honestly, truthfully, yes. Took him a long time to get where he is now, where he's at peace with everything and everybody, and everybody's playing nice again.
In terms of the way that he ended his book, was that he will never forgive Hunter or Sean for what they did. That was the way that his book ended. And shortly after that, he obviously was put in the Hall of Fame, there was the DVD, and then he came back and he did the thing in the ring with Sean where they hugged and all that sort of stuff. Did you ever think that would happen? Did you ever think he would go back and do that?
Well, yes, at some point I think he did. I think he would have, I meant. After so many years, it's like anything, you have to let go of bitterness and hate and whatever so you can even move on with your own life.
The one other thing about Montreal that I wanted to ask you is there's an opinion out there from some people that it's a work and that it's too much of a coincidence that the documentary was filmed and just so happened to capture the backstage antics of the biggest controversy of all time in wrestling. What do you say to people who think it's a work?
It's nonsense. I had that crew in my house for a whole year, disrupting my house. They shot very personal things about us. If you really want to think about it, we actually really started reality TV. Someone had said that to me, a journalist said that to me once. He goes, you guys actually really started reality TV. They lived with you guys for like a whole year. Yes, okay. But anyway, going back to that question, no, it's not a work. It was as raw. You would have to be there to experience the emotions that Bret went through. And I can honestly say on my children's head that none of that stuff was set up. That was as real as you would ever get. And it's one of those things in the right place at the right time. And that camera was in the right place at the right time. And like I said, I don't know what happened in the hotel that afternoon when Bret came back. I think maybe from having that meeting, our lawyer or whoever, I won't say that because but my opinion, maybe someone had said, let's wire you up, so that's what I think happened. That transpired from that meeting when Bret left our room, when someone had told him that they saw Sean in the elevator in Vince's hotel. I think from then on in, that's when they decided to wire Bret up. So yeah, it was never set up. And that's sad that people would think that because, I know I was there. My kids were there. Bret was there. I saw what it did to him emotionally for our marriage after that. Like, we were never the same. But we had other stuff going on, but that was just another little thing to push us both towards divorcing,